should you be gaming on Android? And the answer is obviously no. It's awful. It's a terrible experience. But the answer is also yes, because a lot of times your phone in your pocket, it's got way too much power and you're not using it. But if you were gaming, you could be using that. And also a lot of these consoles are really powerful, and Android is it's an easy system that you can install, and it's easy to throw apps on there and stuff. But when it comes to configuring things, well, here's the question you have to ask yourself. Are you willing to fuss around for about a day? If the answer is yes, then you can reap the rewards of using one of these units and gaming on Android. I always use OEM keys. I grab them over at whokeys.com. This is the price you're going to pay for Windows 11 Pro if you get a retail key. Let's check those prices on whokeys.com. $30. No, we can do better. Put in TS25, click apply. There we go. $23.22. You got Windows 11 Pro, Windows 10 Pro, Windows 11 Home, Windows 10 Home, and we have a couple different flavors of LTSC. 2021 gets updates until 2027, and the 2021 IoT edition gets updates until 2032. Also, if you're sick of paying that monthly fee for Office, you can get an offline version of Office. They've got 2019 and 2016. 2016 will get most people by, in my opinion. You can also use the coupon code TS25 on these to save 25% on this as well. Let's go ahead and check out with our copy of Windows 11 Pro. All right, just put in my card info. There we go. Click on View Keys and Codes. Once you get to the User Center, click on Get the Key. You'll see your key right here in the middle. Go ahead and highlight that, copy that, press Start, and then type Activate. You'll see Activation Settings. Go ahead and click on that. And then right here it says Not Active. Just click on Change Product Key. Paste in our product key and then click on Activate. Hey, look at that, active. Head over to whokeys.com. Thanks to them for sponsoring. And now on to our regularly scheduled program. If you're not willing to fuss for a day, well, I don't know, get something like this trim UI from MechDIY that I've got right here. It just has cross mix OS. It's so seamless compared to a lot of the Android options. I mean, there's lots of different options out there. If I had a choice, I would pretty much always use that. But the problem is a lot of those that don't have Android are just not powerful enough for systems like 3DS, PSP, PS2, PS3. Switch, no. Most of these don't play Switch, but some of them can try. Cemu for your Wii U games, Wii games, GameCube games. A lot of that stuff doesn't really play too well on those. Some of it does, but a lot of it's not that good. And if you want to run CRT filters and everything else, well, you need a powerful system. And that's not tied to Android, but it just so happens that a lot of these Android systems that we've got are very powerful. So if it's worth fussing, then it's a pretty good way to go, and I'll try to help you through a little bit of the fussing, but I'm really just gonna kind of teach you how to cook and then let you cook on your own, because everyone has different options when it comes to like, what do you want? What emulators do you want? What interface do you want? So world of possibilities out there. It's not plug and play. God, that's an old term. It's not set it and forget it. I don't know. Give me a cool catchphrase, but it can be very rewarding. All right, let's get into it. Gaming on Android. That's a thing that I thought would never be as mainstream as it is now, because when I first saw it, it was all those virtual controllers on your little phones, and those things were not comfortable to hold. The virtual controls were a joke, so I didn't know who was doing this. Like, why would anyone actually want to play a game this way? But now we have full-on consoles, and we also have stuff like this. There we go. This is the GameSir G8 Galileo, and we also have the G8 Plus Galileo, and that just hooks up to your phone. So the first question is the form factor. What do you want to use? Well, we've got all these different consoles out there. The most important thing to me overall is not actually the performance, it's the ergonomics. It's how comfortable it feels in my hand. That's more important than any of this, because I sat around for a little while playing on some of the smaller units that don't have like good grip, and my hands, they kind of go into like rigor mortis even though I'm not even dead. I really don't understand why some of these units have terrible ergonomics. You have to hold them like you're using talons to grip onto something. It's very weird. You get a unit like the Anbernic RG556 and it fits in your hand perfectly. It's amazing. And then you get something like the Retroid Pocket 5, which I also have, and it feels terrible. I'm like, my fingers are cramping and everything. There's just nowhere for my bottom fingers to grip onto it. So it feels like I'm squeezing it the entire time I'm holding it. So I had to get a grip for it. And I did get a grip. I'll give you a link to this down in the description. This is the grip that I got, and it's pretty good, except there's a little bit of play. It's, I don't know, it feels like there's a millimeter behind it. So it moves a tiny bit, not much, but it does move enough to give me a slight annoyance, but not enough to like impact my gameplay, which is okay, I guess. Take a look at the back right there. Look at that knurling, isn't that beautiful? It's really got a nice texture, and then we've got a little fan-shaped design right there to let you know that's where the fan is allowed to breathe, right through there. As far as the clips on the front, those are okay. They're not too bad. I was worried about it. I don't know, it doesn't really scratch or anything. Whoa, look out. And then behind right here, we've got felt, just to keep it in place and everything. And it's way better than just holding this. I would not play this thing at all if I had to hold this thing like that. There, snaps in. So I think it feels a lot better with this on there. I don't think it feels quite as good as the GameSir controllers that go with the, the Android phones or whatever. But, these consoles are a more seamless experience. I mean, there's fussing regardless, but these have less fussing. So yeah, that's the grip that I got. I'll put the link down to the Etsy store. They make grips for other handhelds as well. It is recommended. It's great. It's 1,000 times better than just playing it natively. But there's also another thing to consider, and it's the most comfortable thing that I've used so far, and that is the GameSir G8 Galileo. They make another one if you want something that's a little bit thicker and a little bit chonkier. This one right here, the X3 Pro Type C. This one's also very nice. Not quite the same when it comes to the feel of the buttons. It's a little bit different. If you like the aesthetic, that's one thing. It's a little bit thicker as far as the grip goes, not quite as long, so if your hands are a little bit smaller, it'll feel good. The D-pad is more squishy and circular. The buttons are really clicky. They almost all sound and feel like Omron switches from a mouse or something. It feels like you're clicking a mouse on every single button. It does have a nice big fan in the back, which is cool. It is lacking the L4 and R4 buttons, like the back flipper buttons or whatever. It's lacking those, but I don't know if I use those much anyway. Those could be good for hotkeys or something, I guess. We've got all these, and I think that's my favorite option, but my phone's not that fast. It's actually not very good. It's just a Sony. It doesn't have super fast processor or anything, but if I upgraded to a new phone, I think that would be just the thing. I would just use this. I wouldn't have one of these handheld consoles at all, because this, even though it's got a little bit of weight to it, it's so much more comfortable. Like, this feels like I'm holding a real controller, and it feels really premium, kind of like an Xbox controller. They didn't pay me. I got one of these, and then I messaged GameSir, and I was like, send me the rest. This one is immaculate. It's wonderful. So that's my first choice, but if you're okay with whatever else, then you do you. So many different form factors to consider, but this is cool because if you ever upgrade your phone, then you just bring this on over. It's got USB-C. You can do pass-through and charge it, at the same time. This one doesn't have USB-C. It needs to be charged, and your phone can power it, but yeah. So that's the different form factor ideas out there. So once I got my Retroid Pocket set up, this is what it looks like. All this junk on here. It's very confusing. I hate the interface on this thing, by the way, because I don't know, it needs a better launcher. Maybe I'll install a launcher on there myself. So I've done all this without the use of Google, and I did that using Obtainium. And Obtainium is how I think you should be installing your apps if you're not going to be using the Google Play Store. But I also prefer to use Obtainium anyway, because there's a lot of stuff that's not available on the Google Play Store. For instance, the versions of Retroarch that you're going to get here are way better. I mean, the core is still pretty much the same, but they come with way more stuff, if you know what I mean. So I've got all this stuff installed right now, and I'll show you how to get things. It's very easy, and you're just going to want to import this file that I have. Now, you can go in and change things, and I'll show you how to do that in a second, but first off, I just want to show you how to import. So you want to go over here to the import export, go to import from URLs and file, like an OPML file. And I've created a file here. So this is how you tell Obtainium what apps you want to download. This looks really intimidating, but it's not that bad. I'll just show you how this works. So what I've done here, let's just start up here at the top, is I've said, all right, Melon DS, I want that for my Nintendo DS games. And it's available on this GitHub link. We just go ahead and there it is. That's where it took us. So for this file, it's just going there and it's looking for the latest Android download. And so most of these are going to be GitHub links, but it does support links that are not on GitHub. As long as we've got an app on the download page, like the Dolphin emulator, well, we can download that. And then when it comes to Retroarch, we're going straight to their BuildBot page. And I'm using stable. You can use the nightly if you want to. You just got to go over to the nightly. And what I'm saying is I'm telling it to go into this folder and just find the correct APK file. Now, how does it know? Well, for this one, I'm just telling it to grab this file in particular. So I'm going to the latest stable, and I've actually told it to go to this number. If you want to go to the nightly, you might get something that's a little bit more up to date. And there's one thing that's kind of a downside is you do have to change this when we get updates. So right now, 1.2.0 is the most up-to-date thing, because this is only smart enough to search inside of whatever folder you tell it. So that's one little bit of frustration with this, is that if I tell it to search just all throughout the stable stuff, I was having trouble. So I had to tell it just to go straight to the newest one, and I'm kind of fine with that, because as long as I can update my cores once I get it. Now the other option is to come over here and do nightlies. So you can do this if you want to, but I recommend just grabbing the stable version. And again, right now it's this version right here. So that's what I've done. I've put that in there. If you want to take stuff away You could just be like, you know what, I'm not going to be playing any Switch, so I don't need Skyline. Just highlight and delete that. Very easy. So once you get this downloaded, just throw it over onto your Android device and make sure it's a JSON file. If you want to add your own stuff, you know what I've actually found is the easiest thing to do is I'm going to grab all this stuff right here and just copy all this and take it over to your favorite thing, whether it's DeepSeek or ChatGPT or whatever AI slop nonsense. Just throw this in there and say, hey, this is an example of an Obtainium script, and I want to make one just like it for an APK that I want to put on there. And then say, here's the URL to the APK that I want to put on there. And it'll essentially rewrite this quickly. So far, my success rate's been like 90% doing this. It'll rewrite this, change out the variables to make it work with your APK. If it doesn't work at first, go in and say, hey, there was this error, it wasn't finding the correct APK file, and then it let the stupid thing rewrite it again. All right, so once you get it over here, let's just go ahead and click on it. And what it does is it looks through all those things and just extracts the URLs of all the stuff we're going to get. And it's like, there's all the files that you want, right? This is, I think, an older file. I've updated it since then. But down in the description below, I'll give you the latest download of the Obtainium script that I have written. So there we go. It's importing all these things. Okay. And now if we just go back over to our apps, we can see. Now you'll notice the things that have not been installed yet are just going to say app. This is my Scum VM. It says it's not installed, but when I click install, it will install Scum VM and then it'll give us a nice icon, but it hasn't pulled those icons yet. You know, for a lot of this stuff, I just use Retroarch, but when it comes to certain emulators, there are certain apps that really do a better job. For instance, Citra's here, you know, for 3DS games, but I found that Mandarin, a fork of Citra, is way better. So this is Mandarin. It's the only one that I've gotten to work that, you know, doesn't stutter all the time on a decent device. Now, if you've got a really powerful Snapdragon, like a super fancy phone or a really expensive $500, $600 thing, you're not gonna have to worry about it. But for the rest of us, well, we have to think about these things. So I'll show you the settings I'm using right here in my system. Show you my general settings right here. Custom CPU ticks, whoops, leave that on. Limiting my speed. Please stop flashing, you USB device. My graphic settings, just scroll through so you can see these here. This USB capture device is on its last legs. Wow. All right, so that's what I'm running right there. Now note, this still crashes all the freaking time. You know, what I do is I just make sure that I save. Now, if I'm doing something at the same time and I save, sometimes it'll give us an error. Do not click abort. If you click abort, it'll turn off the machine. So click continue if you ever get an error while doing your quick save. So this also looks a little stuttery. It's buttery smooth on my system. So just my HDMI capture, I don't know, I need a new one. This thing's been not working very well. Oh, nice. Slamming into trees is a way to get wealthy. Let me show you something. After you reload, these games are going to be so stuttery. So I'm going to go up here and do my save states, load state, quick save, reloading this state from just a second ago. Now watch. It's really stuttery at first. When I swing my sword, it has to build up the shader cache for all the activities that I do. This thing, see, it's stuttery. When this thing flies. So after you've played for a second, it'll build up the cache, like the shader cache, and then this nonsense will stop. I don't know, this thing's attacking you, but see, this time it should be smooth. Well, if I don't get hit. When it comes to DS, I like Melon DS, and then Nether SX2 is what I use for my PlayStation 2 games. And I think they run pretty well. If you're having trouble getting your PS2 games to run, let me just show you the quick tip on this. What I usually do is a 2 or a 2.5x upscaler. Some games you can go up to 5x, but I found that 2 to 2.5x is pretty much safe. And then a lot of the other stuff, I just leave it alone. And for most systems, this will be okay, depending on the speed of your device. I leave off all the widescreen patches and stuff. If you want to do texture replacements, you can do that as well, just like you do on PCSX2 or whatever. Very similar, you grab the texture replacements online. That goes beyond the scope of this video. We could do a separate video on that, but that's the one I use for specifically PlayStation 2 games. Otherwise, Switch, I've found that the last version of Yuzu works just about as well as anything else, but there's also Skyline and a few other things. None of them really work too well. I can get Mario Kart to play on this, and it plays okay, but it crashes usually after, I don't know, a round or two. So when it comes to Dreamcast, I think Flycast is probably the one to go for, but Redream is a premium app, you know. So let's just, when it comes to Sega Saturn, there's Yaba Sanshiro, and that is installed inside of Retroarch, but you know, Yaba Sanshiro 2 is external, so that one's probably a little bit better. When it comes to Vita, Vita 3K is the one you want to grab for PlayStation Vita games. And again, all these links are going to be down in the description. So I think that's pretty much it when it comes to just, you know, all this stuff. But when it comes to all these other emulators, you're just going to have to set them up yourself. This is not what this video is about. You got to go through each different one. That's why it's really annoying to deal with Android sometimes, because yeah, it's just a lot of nonsense you got to do. All right, let's configure Retroarch. I'll show you how that works. Got it all set up. The interface is pretty much the same as it is on my computer, so I understand this interface. For a lot of people, there's just too much stuff here, but let's go through it slowly. First thing you want to do is click on the online updater and then click on core downloader. And we're going to go through and download cores that we need to play our game. So I like for arcade, the best is Final Burn Neo. I also grab MAME 2003 for whatever games don't play. I don't really need MAME though, I don't think. Final Burn Neo covers most of it. If you need Atari, if you play any of these, you can grab the Atari stuff. I don't really play those that much, so it is what it is. If you're playing the old school Cave Story stuff with the NX engine, you can grab that. Commodore, I don't really play a lot of these old games. I didn't really like games until DOS, so yeah. I found a lot of the stuff, even on regular Nintendo, to be kind of simplistic and boring. So I actually preferred arcade and DOS before Super Nintendo came out. I was like, okay, I'm getting into this stuff. When it comes to DOS games, speaking of that, DOSBox Pure is my favorite. It allows you to load games from a zip file. And I mean, I don't think I'll be playing them on this machine, other than the few games that support like a Gravis pad and stuff. Those work really well. But if it's a game like Doom or something that needs a mouse and keyboard, or a lot of the other games like Civilization or all the RPGs, like they really need a mouse and keyboard. So probably playing too much DOS on this. And I mean, you can plug up a mouse and keyboard with the USB-C, but you know, whatever. For the PC Engine, I'm going to grab Beetle PCE that covers PC Engine Super Graphics and the PC Engine CD, which is the TurboGrafx CD, all that is covered right there. If you're playing some PC98, Neko Project Kai is the one to get. If you got a bunch of Japanese translated ROMs for that, that'd be great. So when it comes to Nintendo DS, so Melon DS works really well. I've got an external Melon DS, but for a lot of the DS games, I'm actually going to run them directly through here. Now, some games do work better in, I don't know how they say it, DSMU, I don't know. Some games work better in DSMU, ME, DESMU, I don't know. But Melon DS will probably be the thing that a lot of people are going to be using for their DS games. And I like running it through here because you can run filters, and I like just managing everything. So if my device is powerful enough that the slight performance hit that I'm going to take by running it through Retroarch is okay, then I'm going to run it through Retroarch. Game Boy Color, Gambatte. I don't really play Game Boy Color games. Game Boy Advanced, MGBA. You want Dolphin? The Wii Dolphin is okay, but I'm going to use the external one. For Nintendo, I use FCE-UMM. I mean, a lot of these are going to be just fine. It doesn't really matter. All right, so when it comes to Nintendo 64, so MuPen Plus Next GLES2 is the one you're probably going to want to use. I've installed a few because some things don't load correctly on that one. But the thing about GLES2, it's going to be more like the actual native experience. If you're going to download a game and do all kinds of like lighting effects and filters or stuff, then GLES3 is the one you want. All right, when it comes to Super Nintendo, there's two different ones. If you're going to be running any widescreen hacked ROMs, you're going to need BSNES HD Beta. Otherwise, just grab the latest version of SNEX 9X, and that's down here. Right there, just the latest version of SNEX 9X. How do you know it's the latest version? Well, it's the version that doesn't have a year after it. That's the latest. If it's got a year, that means it's dated. No year, not dated. All right, for Dreamcast, the Flycast works fine. There's also an external Dreamcast emulator that we'll be using. When it comes to your Sega stuff, talking Master System, Game Gear, Mega Drive, Genesis, Sega CD, and Sega 32X, Pico Drive covers all of that, so just get Pico Drive. Sega Saturn, probably use something external, but Yaba Sanshiro is something you can try. So we got our SNK stuff down here. A lot of that can be covered with the arcade stuff. When it comes to PlayStation, you can use Swan Station inside here. It's a port of DuckStation. So if your device is powerful enough, I would probably prefer to use Swan Station because then we can use all of the filters and effects and just the ease of use, the controller setups and everything from inside of Retroarch. So I prefer to do that when possible. And then the same goes for the PlayStation Portable PPSSPP. If you want Vita, we're going to have to use something external. So there you go. 3DO, got that covered. And that's pretty much it. So that's all of our stuff right there. Now when it comes to loading up content, well, let's just go back over to Daiji Show and see how easy this is to work with. Let's grab an SNES game. It's still going through the library, but We've also got some ROM hacks in here, so let's just play and see what it does. It's like, oh no, it's giving me an error. So don't worry about this. We can remove that error in a second, and I'll show you how to do that. But hit confirm, and it is just detecting SNEX 9X over in Retroarch. See that? It just worked. I didn't have to configure that. So it's pretty good at just detecting, Retroarch. See, look at that. Retroid Pocket controller configured as soon as I touched it. Now with a lot of these devices, you'll have some issues where, like if you pick up your controller and it's like, oh, I can't detect the controller. So click on the cog here for your options, and then click on latency. And see there's polling behavior right here. I have my polling behavior set to early. You can try different polling behaviors, like normal and late. This is what you're going to want to change if you open up a game in Daigisho that also launches in Retroarch and it doesn't detect your controller. You're going to have to try different polling behaviors. So early is what works for me on this system. If you have Retroarch running and try to launch something else, it's like not letting me do it. There we go. I had to swipe closed Retroarch just to start this again. So the benefit of Retroarch is, it should be obvious. You press your home button right here and you've got access to all your stuff. I'm inside my quick menu right now. Quick menu is specific to the game that you're playing. So I can click on shaders down here. I can load a preset. I'm not sure if I'm using Vulkan or not. Let's see, did I just install this? Video output? Yeah, I'm using Vulkan. So you want to make sure you're using Vulkan, by the way, for most people. Quick menu, down to shaders. So Vulkan, if you're using Vulkan shaders, load preset, you want to go into your slang folder. If you're using OpenGL, you're going to want to go into your GLSS folder, but I'm using Vulkan, so there. Okay, when it comes to launchers, I'm actually going to send you over here because this website's great. The Retro handheld guides, really, really good for a lot of this stuff. And if you're someone who's getting into this, you may already know about this website, but here they cover all of the different launchers that are available right now and they make their pick. I cannot install all of these, and the reason is some of these are exclusive to the Google Play Store, and I'm not putting the Google Play Store on my device. Luckily, one of the best that is available is Daigisho. So I'm going to show you that one, but you should consider some of the other ones. A lot of people like the Beacon Game Launcher. This one costs a few dollars over here. You know, I looked at this one. This one looks clean. It looks like it's easy to navigate, possibly the easiest to navigate. This guy loves it. So Vlad, how you doing? Vlad says it's the best. We're going to have to take his word for it because I'm going to keep using Daigisho because it's free and I can use it without having a Google account. Now, Daigisho, let me just show you that one over here. All right, I plugged up a mouse, even though it's weird, but now you can see what I'm doing right here. So the first time you load up Daigisho, it's just going to be completely empty. You need to click on Download Platforms, and you come over here and check mark all of the different systems that you're going to be using. I'll just do a few now to show you how this works. I picked a bunch of stuff. I'm going to click on Import now. Just give it a minute. It's got to download all the information for these platforms. It's already picking this stuff up, downloading these wallpapers. So this is what it looks like. If you want to use a different theme, well, I'll show you how to do that. Go up here to Settings. There we go. Click on Appearance, and then click on Download Platform Wallpaper Packs. Now, if you want to see what these are like, you're going to have to go online and take a look at them. So I'll just grab one that I like. Think I like this one. So it's going to replace all your existing wallpapers. The art's a little bit Western for my taste for some of the consoles, but it is what it is. And we go back to our library, and you can see that now we have some really cool artwork for all of our different things. So let's say you want to play a game now. Well, you click on your library, you got nothing there. It doesn't know where your stuff is. Remember, this is a front end. It doesn't have anything to do with the back end. So what you're going to have to do is tell it where all your games live. And this is the reason why Android takes a day. So click on Paths, click on Add More, and then I'm going to navigate over here to my SD card where I have everything installed. PlayStation, use this folder, Allow, and then click on Sync. All right, we got 36 new games. And as you click on this, you'll notice there's nothing going on here. There's no images, just wait. Right now it's scraping to find all of the details and images for this. So if we let this do its thing and then come back in a minute, it'll be just fine. Let's say you want to play a game, so let's see what we got here. I don't know, Dino Crisis. Oh, there's some stuff's already showing up, see? Or Breath of Fire, oh, there we go. Now, if you click play, it's going to try to find the appropriate stuff, but look, failed open, doesn't know what's going on. If you go back over here, click on this, what it's doing right now is it's trying to find your emulator. And it may find your emulator like DuckStation right there, but DuckStation might not be set up because remember, this is only a front end. It's not a back end. So you're going to have to come over here, go to your DuckStation, and look, it's the first time I've run DuckStation. So you have to set this up outside of Daigisho first. So I'm going to add my game directory, and then it's going to want my BIOS directory and everything else. So if you want to do this the correct way, you're going to need to do all that stuff. What is wrong with this HDMI capture? Jesus. All right, yeah, that works. Just started up the BIOS. Yeah, you got to throw BIOS files in the correct spots and all that sort of thing. So yeah, this is not a full-on tutorial. It's just an overview, but yeah. Now we can try it again. It might work. Since we started DuckStation before, it looks like it's going to connect and work. There. It takes a while because it's emulating a CD spinning up and all that stuff. So I have this thing set to 1x. PlayStation games, my God, they're so slow. All right, so that works now. We're in, playing Breath of Fire 2. If you want to change the options now, just generally press your home button, and then it'll actually bring up the options, because what's happened here is Daigisho has sent us over to this. So now we're inside the DuckStation emulator. And when I press the home button, it brings that up. Now when I close out of this game, let's say I want to, there we go, exit game, it's going to bring me back over to Daigisho because it's smart. So you're going to have to come and do that for all of your different systems. Come over here, add your paths. Now, one of the nice things is if you have Retroarch installed, it's generally going to find the correct cores and just set it all up, and it'll just open up in Retroarch. So Retroarch with this is pretty seamless. It's not that big of a deal. But a lot of the other special stuff like Sony PlayStation, GameCube, the stuff that requires an emulator that's not really a part of Retroarch is going to require fussing. PlayStation 2 especially, yep. So anyway, you'll have to set all that up on your own, but Daigisho is the front end that I prefer to use because it's free, works really well, it's pretty, and I mean, it gets the job done. I'm mostly playing my games, I'm not playing the interface, so that's another thing. Alright, so now that we're at the end of the video, I'm going to ask you again, do you want Android or do you want something else? Was it worth it? There's so much fussing that I'm not covering in this video because it's not a tutorial. This was an overview with a little bit of a tutorial on the side. Android is fussing, but the results, once you get everything fussed into place, can be quite nice, and you can have a good experience, mostly because the hardware that's generally packaged together with Android, a lot of the Snapdragons and stuff, it's fast. I wish someone would make just a straight up handheld that did not have Android but was really, really, really powerful. I know you got like SteamOS and stuff on the bigger devices. Those are too big and clunky. So I don't know, maybe I'll have to put like Rocknix or some other version of Linux onto this and get it up and running. But I want one that doesn't come with any fussing, just kind of like the CrossMix OS that you get, or the whatever version of Linux that you get on some of the less expensive devices that's really seamless and has all the emulators set up and ready to go. I want to pick it up and press buttons and have it do things. But I don't know. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to leave it set up the way that you just saw it in the video. There's a lot of emulators that are not configured. There's a lot of settings that are not configured. And then as I play games, I'm just going to configure as I go. So it's like, okay, I want to play a PS2 game. Now it's time to configure my PS2 and set it up with Daigisho and go to the PS2 folder and set that up and check all my graphics settings and make sure that they're good to go. So I'm going to do this on a as I need to do it basis. There's another thing that I guess I will do is I will go into Daigisho and add all the libraries. Just add all that stuff, because that way I can browse through it and see if there's a game I want to play. And it's like, okay, if I want to play, you know, this TurboGrafx 16 game or whatever, I can make sure it's set up at that point. But at least I'll be able to browse through and see them all. And plus Daigisho has a really cool feature where you can go in and just say random. So I'll use that here and there.